I learned that I couldn't just do what I wanted to do when I got to college, and I was like, I'm probably more talented than everybody out here. So when the ball is snapped, I'm gonna just take off and run. You know what I did? Ran right into the back of an offensive lineman. I was like, oh, this ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. I need a new strategy.
This podcast is presented by Visa, a network giving small businesses tools to grow, overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure. The MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their businesses and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network giving small businesses tools to grow. Welcome back to Beyond the X's and O's, and today we have an incredible conversation with a kid that I looked up to. Believe it or not, I was much older than him, but watching Michael Vick play in the NFL was mind-blowing to me, and he did all the things I wish I could do, and over the years getting to hear what a great person he is. This was an exciting conversation for me because I got to know him better. He's another one of these players that our paths didn't really cross, so I used this conversation opportunity to get to know him a little bit better. And we started in his high school period of time in his life, and it was really interesting. A lot of kids talk about going through adversity. Michael's high school shut down after his sophomore year. He was already the established starter. He was already becoming somewhat of a local legend as a player. And now his school shuts down, and he's got to go join another high school. Talks about that adversity and what that was like for him and his teammates that came from Ferguson High School to his new high school. Tells this incredible story about his high school time where he was playing great, but he self-admitted as being a knucklehead. And his GPA was too low to be recruited. It was at a 1.9. And the influence of his high school football coach and the tactics his high school football coach used on him to motivate him to take care of business in the classroom, and really defining moment in Michael's life. We talk about how he gets to Virginia Tech, his incredible redshirt freshman year there where they end up playing in the national championship game. He ends up going to the Heisman Trophy finalists. But he also reflects back on the values and the lessons learned when he was redshirted his first year at Virginia Tech and how much that carried over. And then this pivotal moment, and every athletic quarterback needs to listen to this, where he goes off on why he became good, why he became the Michael Vick to play in the NFL for so long. And in the midst of that, he never talks about running the football and being a great athlete and over-athleting people. He talks about the academic part of the growth, the leadership development, the weight room training, the lonely work, all the stuff that have kind of been themes to this show. And we get into the NFL, and now he's getting to play the position that he grew up watching guys he admired, like Steve Young, his childhood hero, play. What he learned in the NFL, his big takeaway. And a really neat moment in this conversation, and not many of you will know this name, but Greg Knapp. Greg Knapp is a quarterback coach, was for years in the NFL, had a lot of influence on a lot of great players. He recently passed, and Michael gives Greg, we call him Napper, the credit for really introducing the zone read to the NFL. And then we have this really juicy conversation. It's really the only time I talk in this interview where I want to make a point for everybody listening that they understand that if Michael Vick got to play in today's football, where quarterback-driven runs are maximized, where the system is open to the athletic quarterback, he would be a Hall of Famer. He'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he'd be putting up numbers that you wouldn't believe. For those of you that love Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, I can go on and on and on. Michael Vick was all these guys before they were here. So this is a great conversation. I'm excited for you to get to hear it, and we'll get started right now with Michael Vick. I'm especially excited about today's guest, Michael Vick. His quarterback journey is amazing. He really pioneered the position for so many, but I'm excited because Michael was coming in as I was getting out of the league, and I got to watch him play in awe, and we never really got to know each other very well, so I'm using today as a chance to get to know Michael a little bit better and appreciate his story. So, Michael, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Trent, thanks for having me. Like you say, man, it's I was coming in, you was on your way out after a big Super Bowl win. Congratulations on that. Never got a chance to congratulate you personally. So,
Thank you.
yes, that was an amazing honor and opportunity, man. And you guys had a great team assembled and heard a lot of good things about you, and I'm excited about this.
Well, thank you. That was a lot of hair ago for me, and you made me feel old real quick when you jumped in the league and started lighting up. I want to start with your high school journey. Growing up in Virginia, high school football is a big deal there. Tell me a little bit about your high school, what Friday Night Lights was like, your first start, just all the stuff that went into that high school quarterback journey.
Yeah, Trent. Well, I wasn't highly recruited, I'll say that. I think I was ranked maybe number 11 in the nation coming out, and I felt like talent-wise, you always measure yourself up against, the guys around you, opposition. I had Ronald Curry in my same district, who was like Mr. Everything, football and basketball. He was always my measuring stick. And, it was a point in time where I just felt like I didn't get enough credit. And I was putting in the hard work, but I wasn't as talented as Ronald. And I think it was Drew Henson in that class. And, I ended up at number 11. So every year, you see these guys getting all these accolades. And, so I'm just always chasing them. So I say all that in fairness to say I was the underdog, I felt like. And it just made me just grind. So I started as a freshman, was 7 games in, played at junior varsity. 7-0, coach snatched me up my freshman year. Had some success, 3 games, and then, my career kind of took off, but was wearing number 11 my first 2 years. We switched schools, and then we went to a different high school my junior and senior year. A different story for another day. Maybe I can get into it in terms of how I started wearing number 7. And, high school was just amazing, man. The best times of your life, I tell you that.
What was a Friday night like in Virginia football? I've heard of these massive crowds. Was it the biggest thing in town? Did stores shut down, that whole deal?
Well, you got to be playing against one of the Hampton schools. So I'm on the Newport News side, which had their own District 5 teams. And then we played against the Hampton school. So if you was playing against Hampton High School, Phoebus High School, you get a packed house. You get everybody from all neighborhoods, surrounding areas, from the poorest neighborhoods to the suburbs, all come together on a Friday night, sometimes a Saturday night, and watch us get it in. And some of my most memorable moments, my best game came when we had a crowd of about 8,000 my senior year versus Hampton High School. And I lit it up that day, Trent.
Well,
I'm talking.
Tell me more about it. This podcast is all about stories. Tell me about lighting it up. Let me feel that game.
All right, got you. So, one, vividly remember my high school coach coming to me before the game, and I think he just made this up. But whatever it takes to get your player going, that's between us coaches and how we motivate, you coaches and how they motivated players. And he comes to me and he says, Virginia Tech called down and said they'll be watching you tonight, and they excited about the opportunity to get to talk to you. And, he was kind of just like giving me the whole spin. I'm like, really, coach, right before the game, you're going to do this and add this pressure? And a sense of calmness came over me. I felt like that's what I always wanted in my life. A team to say, we're committed, a college team to commit to me and say, we want you, not him. We want you. And so from the start of the game, I was on, Trent. I mean, I might have finished up 20 for 30, maybe 225 yards and a TD, no picks, no fumbles. We lost the game. Ronald Curry, he did his thing. He probably had about 250 rushing, but he probably had 250 passing, about 100 yards rushing, and they were the better team. Personnel-wise, they was better than us. But, man, 8,000, I showed out. I might have had 50 yards rushing, but I showed the world that day, or showed Virginia Tech at least, that they can build a future around me.
I love it. Now, you hinted at it earlier, and again, tell your stories, man. We got all the time in the world. Why did you switch to number 7?
Well, my freshman, sophomore year, I was wearing number 11. And then our high school shut down. So it was Ferguson High School.
Oh, wow.
And then they closed up. So we merged with Warwick High School, which was in our same district. And we just kind of like went to their school and just had to fit in. We had to battle for positions. And obviously I was the better quarterback of the guy they had, respectively, Jason Johnson, and he went to tight end. But they didn't have the number 11, which I started out with. So I was like, you know what? They don't have 11. I'll take the next best thing. Just subtract 1, and I'm going to wear number 1. So, it's a lot of pressure when you wear number 1. You got to live up to that number 1 hype that you just kind of, self-inflicted, and I'm like, okay, I got this. Trent, I cannot complete a pass in practice. I could not make a read. I could not pull the football down and run. I was running into offensive linemen. And something just didn't feel right. So that whole camp, my junior year, I'm wearing number 1. Ronald Curry's wearing number 1. Everybody's like, Mike's in number 1. Ronald's in number 1. And this is going to be an amazing matchup when they meet up. But in practice, I'm like, I'm not ready. And that's after 2 years of having success. Sophomore year was great. Freshman year was subpar. And one day we're in practice after about 3 weeks. And my receiver, Andre Harrison, he's wearing number 7. I'm wearing number 1. And I'm just like looking up in the sky. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? Coaches all down, ride me every day. I looked at him and I said, you want to switch numbers? He said, yeah. You don't want to wear number 1? No? I said, no, I don't want to wear number 1 anymore. I didn't give him a dissertation behind it. I just was like, let's swap. Boom. We swapped jerseys, Trent. And when I say I went from being like having no knowledge of the game of football, having no feel for the game, no emotional attachment to football, to I turned into something that was that whole dual threat aura or that era for me started. I became elusive. I looked like Ronald. The things that I was doing in the backyard growing up versus friends, and I was able to do it on the field. And every time I looked at my number, I was so proud that I made that change that day. And this is it. This is it. This is my number for the rest of my life. And man, it was a great moment in my life because I know that number changed the way I played the game. And I became, I guess, one of the most electrifying quarterbacks to ever play the game, and that was special.
That's incredible. It's almost like number 7 became your Superman cape.
Yes, it did in so many ways. And even still, when I see it to this day, I still think about that day where I made that swap. And I don't tell a lot of people about that story because to me, it's certain platforms where it may hold some value in terms of telling it because it's a long story.
Yeah.
But thanks for giving me the platform to tell that story because, maybe somebody else might be out there playing with number 23 and when he throw that 24 on that corner, he might feel like Charles Woodson or somebody. I know I felt like Elway.
That's incredible. How a number can make you feel like doo-doo 1 minute and then Superman the next. Hey,
swag is everything.
A lot of kids talk about going through adversity in high school, and that might be a girl breaking up with them, or they had to climb from number 2 to number 1 of the depth chart, or whatever it is. They really don't know real adversity. And you just talked about it. And I want you to drill a little bit deeper into your school got shut down. Now think about that.
Yeah.
If you're a young person, you're a freshman or a sophomore, you're dominating varsity as a sophomore, you got nothing but great things ahead of you. And then the school board says, hey, by the way, we're not going to have the high school anymore. You're going to have to go merge with the team across the street, which you probably don't like very much. You probably don't like some of the dudes over there. You probably don't like that coach because you grew up not liking them. And all of a sudden you got to go be part of that team and earn a spot. Now, for you, it probably wasn't that hard being the freak athlete that you were, but some of your teammates that had to go with you, like that must have been a really difficult time.
Yeah, one, I think the biggest advantage that we had was our high school coach went to that school, and they opened up a new school, and he was supposed to get that job, and last minute he didn't get the job. They designated him to Warwick, and we was just like, oh. And my older sister, she went to the new high school. So we went to different high schools her senior year, my junior year. And it was like we always wanted to go to school together and be in school together. So, that was kind of like a train wreck. And, it was adversity in its purest form because now we're merging with a school where these guys was our rivals. And, we used to compare ourselves to them. And it was just uncomfortable when we got there. And I struggled in a lot of areas. I struggled in the classroom. I struggled off the field. I struggled on the field in the beginning. And I just wasn't used to their culture. We created a culture at Ferguson, and Aaron Brooks was the quarterback before me. I wanted to follow his footsteps. He's the reason I wore number 11. And I just hated the way we had to go over there, so abruptly. You find out on a Thursday, and next Monday you over there working out with a bunch of dudes that you don't know. And it was very challenging. So I just had to stay focused and keep my head down and keep pounding away. The scholarship was most important.
Is there a happy ending to some of that relational stuff? I know the scholarship was you ended up having a great high school career, but were some of those kids that were early on enemies? Was some of that uncomfortableness that you faced early on, did that become comfort, or was it tenuous the entire time?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the game of football does for people in general. It bridged the gap.
Yep.
And we created that brotherhood. And, from the time we had that first practice where coach made us run 2 laps to get going, to get warmed up. He used to make us run lines, like every line of the field, 5, 10, 15, and doing that together and practicing against one another, and then having a scrimmage. And now it's like, we all are one. We kind of took on that pack, and, those guys became my brothers. Unfortunately, it became a situation where the guys that I hung around didn't like certain teammates that I had. We was able to bridge that gap, bring those relationships and friendships closer, get tighter now. Guys had some rifts. One of my good friends got in a fight with one of my teammates. I stayed out of it. I stayed neutral. Obviously, my teammate, the linebacker, the bigger man, got the best of my boy. I had to, real talk, he got the best of my boy. I had to, hey, man, y'all handle those problems. All of y'all are my brothers, whether you play ball or not. If I got respect for you, love for you, we all in this together, man. And that's what football creates, man. It creates, Trent, it creates a brotherhood that's unbreakable for a lifetime.
Now, you mentioned Ronald Curry a bunch. He was obviously a superstar in high school. You mentioned Aaron Brooks went to Ferguson before it shut down, before you went there. Any other quarterbacks you looked up to, like when you were a school kid, or I would just say playing in the parks, in the backyard you mentioned? Before you're the dude, were there guys you were looking at like, I want to play like that guy? You mentioned when you put on 7, you felt like Elway. Who were the guys you kind of molded your game after?
Oh, man. Well, starting with the pros, it was Steve Young. I love the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. Steve was elusive. He was lefty. And I loved Joe Montana before him. I hated when Steve replaced Joe, but the first time I seen Joe drop back with that left hand stroke, I was like, okay, this is it. In college, I like Charlie Ward. I was a big fan of Charlie. I like Tommy Frazier. I just felt like he didn't throw the ball enough. Being a young kid and having aspirations of playing in the pros, you kind of size up everything within the quarterback position. You got to be able to throw it downfield, short, intermediate, long. He wasn't throwing it enough, so I respect this run game. So I took a little bit of what Tommy Frazier did in the run game, and it was Joe Germain was a I don't know if you know him from.
I know Joe very well. That's awesome. Yeah,
Joe Germain was my boy. Me and Peter Straker was just talking about him the other day. I just like Danny Cannell.
Yep.
Danny Cannell was sweet, and Danny Werfel.
Yep.
I mean, I studied the quarterback position as a kid, and the only thing, Trent, that was discouraging was that I didn't grow past 6 feet, and I was like, man, is this gonna be the issue? But then I looked at Steve not being 6 feet, and so I was like, I got a shot there. And so those are the guys that high school, college, and pros in college and in high school. As crazy as this may sound, I was a big fan of Ronald Curry.
Yeah.
Obviously, Aaron Brooks, because he was a pure passer, but Ronald, was just what he did so gracefully, the way he moved, he returned punts, he returned kicks. He was an accurate quarterback. He poured it down and ran it when he needed to. And I'm like, every year, whether I was working out with weighted vests or putting on ankle weights in the park at night at 12 o'clock, I'm thinking about how can I be like Ronald Curry at this period of my life in high school. So it was special moments, man. And I'll never forget this. helped me accomplish that dream of making it one day,
It's important. It's really important to have those guys you're looking up to and mold your game after, and kind of idolize at that age, right? There's nothing wrong with idolizing another dude that's a year older than you. Now, did you get a chance to watch Allen Iverson ever play quarterback? I've heard some legendary stories.
Yeah, I was 4 years younger, so I never got a chance. And then he had the altercation where he ended up going away for a year or two. So I never got to catch him. I always heard about it too, but one day we found some film in our high school coach office, and it was Bethel versus Ferguson, like 1992, October. We popped it in, and I only got to see one game. But the things he did in that one game, I was like, this dude got game. Like, I didn't know he could throw the football. I didn't know he could run it the way he did. And he was a true dual threat. Like, he was doing everything. He was doing everything.
I'll tell you a great story. I'll interject here for a sec. Do you know the name Clyde Christensen?
Clyde Christensen, yeah.
Yep. So Clyde was my quarterback coach in Tampa. He's now Tom Brady. He's coached Peyton Manning, coached a lot of great quarterbacks. We were talking about you one day. You had just rolled into the league, and we were watching you, and we couldn't believe the things you were doing. And he goes, you know what, Trent, the only other person I've ever seen do this was I recruited Allen Iverson when he played quarterback before the altercation, before he decided to play basketball.
Right.
And he said Allen Iverson's the single best high school quarterback he had ever seen. And he had been recruiting forever. He'd done the college thing. Obviously, he was coaching the NFL at the time. And that's the reason I asked you that question about Allen Iverson, because I vividly remember Clyde saying, watching Michael Vick is like going back in a time capsule and watching Allen Iverson when I was recruiting him. So it's a compliment to you. I guess he was ridiculous. We're going to go to our first break. When we get back, I want to talk to Michael about his recruiting process, what got him to Virginia Tech, and then his legendary career at Virginia Tech. We'll be right back. It's football season, baby, and you know what that means. It means we're going for two here with the sponsors of today's show. Manscaped. Blitzing through hairs has never been easier, and it's time you join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code DIMES at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. It's 3 and out the window with all other trimmers. Now go tame that Wildcat offense. The world is starting to open, and the Performance Package 4.0 for Manscaped is here to help you get ready. Inside, you'll find their brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, boy do I need that, Crop Reviver toner, plus 2 free gifts, Performance Boxer briefs, and the Shed travel bag. The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is the perfect package for your package and a key for a great grooming and hygiene routine to make sure the boys downstairs are smooth like Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take your defense to the next level. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? Rain, snow, or sleet are no match for the waterproof power of the 4.0. This package also comes with the Weed Whacker. This elite nose and ear hair trimmer is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This trimmer also has a proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DIMES at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code DIMES. This podcast is presented by Visa, a network giving small businesses tools to grow, overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure. The MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their businesses and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network giving small businesses tools to grow. All right, we're back with Michael Vick, and you got to hear about his incredible high school career. Now, Michael, a lot of people watching the show, listening to the show, are going through recruiting. They might be a young kid that just started. They might be in the heat of it. They might have just gone through it. Talk to me a little bit about your recruiting experience. You talked to me about one night when Virginia Tech was there. What eventually landed you at Virginia Tech?
Well, just throughout the high school process and playing the high school ball, the infatuating part was getting letters.
Mm-hmm.
Like when them letters start rolling in and you like, man, North Carolina's looking at me and Clemson's looking at me and, Notre Dame. And I'm getting letters from every team across the country. It boils down to who really wants me. And then you go through the process of elimination. And when I went through that process, I was left looking at East Carolina, Clemson, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. And predominantly all teams that was on the East Coast. The teams like Notre Dame and Florida State, they started to fall off and fall out of the recruiting process as it went on. And my coach wanted to be real precise. If you want Michael, it comes with certain, circumstances, and we got to be on the same page about a couple things. One, Michael will come in and he will have to learn your system for a year. You have to redshirt him. It's no throwing him into the fire. Mentally, he's not ready. So that was established. And all the coaches, they understood it and they respected it. But I was struggling in the classroom. My junior year, just merging into a new school, I think I mentioned earlier, I was just kind of tied into culture and what was going on in the school. And I'm the quarterback. And, when I step on the field on Friday nights, everything is all love. But when I get in that classroom, I'm playing around, I'm paying attention, I'm worried about girls, I'm the man. Grades drop. And now I find myself end of my junior year, senior year, your junior year, that spring of your junior year is the most important time in the recruiting process. And it coming into my GPA, it's 1.9.
Oh, wow.
2.0, and so real story. My high school coach, Tommy Raymond, I talked to him yesterday. He got my report card, I think, it was the middle of my junior year, right before Christmas. And it's totally screwed up, man. I was, 1.9.
You were a knucklehead. Just the easy way of saying it.
I was a knucklehead. I was being a knucklehead.
Okay.
My coach, who loved me to death, took me under his wing as a freshman at Ferguson. We merged to this school. I came with him. Cut me off. Stopped talking to me. He didn't talk to me from January until I think the summer of that year. And he pretty much told me, I'm not talking to you until you correct this. Yes, you are a great football player. You are a great young man. But you are going to have to focus on school if that's what you really want. Virginia Tech, everybody going to shut that door on you. So, I'm thinking he just talking. And then very next day, we walked the same route to the class. He didn't look at me at all. He beeline right past me. I'm like, hold on, this man is for real. 6 months, didn't talk to me. It wasn't until he started snooping around with my teachers and found out that I was working hard at it and I was improving my grades because I was more than capable. GPA grades going up. One day in May, we was walking. He looked at me. He said, "Michael, how you doing?" That was the best thing that ever happened to me. I thought I lost my father figure, my friend. I thought I lost a man, the only man who I felt like, I could talk to him about anything in life. And from there, it just took off. Virginia Tech came in. I went and visited Tech the next year. I went to East Carolina. I went to Syracuse, and Donovan was my host. And from that point, I knew Virginia Tech was the team for me. Frank Beamer came in, spoke to my mom, told her everything that he was going to allow me to do or give me an opportunity to do. He trusted in Coach Raymond's process of redshirting me. He wouldn't pull my shirt at all costs, and I ended up a Hokie, man. And that was an amazing moment too, because I knew that scholarship would get me one step closer to my dream.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that story. What a great high school coach you had.
Amazing. That was amazing. Oh, man. I spoke to him yesterday because he's doing some stuff within the community with the kids and football camps now, and he's retired. So looking for that next lane.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, so you roll into Virginia Tech. You know you're going to redshirt. What was that redshirt year like, and specifically the scout team, just being the show team quarterback? What'd you learn from that experience?
Yeah, my freshman year was a year to remember as well. I never forget. Just thinking football is extremely hard. That first August, they waking you up early. They throwing this huge playbook at you, asking you to learn protections and running back checks and asking you to know who has this guy in an 8-man front or who's blocking this guy in the 7-man front and cover 2s and cover 3s. I'm like, why is football this hard? I actually wanted to leave. I actually thought about leaving.
I think every kid does that. I think every kid in training camp thinks about leaving.
Yes, okay, so we all had the same thoughts, and it's good to know it just wasn't me. And the more older I get, the more that's confirmation. I get confirmation from other people.
Michael, I'm so old. We had payphones, and I could walk to the dorm at Fresno State where I called my stepdad and mom on the payphone, crying my eyes out, bawling my eyes out. Come get me right now. You need to come get me. This is hell. I can't do this. I think everybody's been there.
Yes. So go through that. One day, my quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator, Ricky Bustle, kept me after practice, and he was like, look at me in my eyes. You can do this. One day you'll be able to do this. I'm talking about that day. I think I had 4 interceptions. I'm dropping back. I ain't reading. I'm looking at people. I'm just picking the target. You can't play like this, Trent. I'm just about to drop back and throw it to the dig. But you throw it right into a dropping inside linebacker or a dropping out. You throwing it into traffic.
Yep.
Right? And I'm like, man, this is going to be tough. But Coach said, just come to the meetings, travel with the team. You're not going to spend the weekends in the dorm with the rest of the freshmen. You're going to travel with the team. I'm like, okay, Coach, I travel. I'm traveling. I'm getting the test before the games. I'm bombing the test. I'm really not paying attention, but I'm trying. It's just not clicking. And it's another interesting story. I keep coming to the meetings, coming in early, watching scout team. I'm just kind of going through the motions. And, September goes by, October goes by. It's like the end of November. And I always sat in the front. Al Clark in the back, Nick Sorensen in the back, Dave Meyer, he was a junior. Someone surrounded by all these older guys. And, I'm sitting there just looking at the film, and it clicked. Too high. Work down the middle reads. Can't throw the out routes, square outs, single safety routes, and you can't throw any of that. Single high safety, okay, that was the time to throw your outs and your comebacks and your go routes, and, you check it down from there. And I'm like, I'm watching a trend. I think I was watching Tim Hasselbeck, and I'm seeing him just work the field. This is kind of beautiful, but I don't really trust this. I got to go on a scout team today and see if what my eyes seen on tape rings true. And I go to practice, and it does, Trent. So, but I'm running that scout team offense, so I'm running another team's offense, and I'm like, if it's an out route, I'm taking out versus single safety. If it's cover 2, I'm hitting the middle read, or I'm working, a basic cross that might have converted from a middle read to just a 10-yard in cut. So I'm like, man, hold on. So I win Scout Team Player of the Week. I'm like, whoa. The very next week, I win Scout Team Player of the Week. And I'm getting this comfort level. And I'm like, I trust this. Now I got to learn our offense. So my freshman year, I go from not understanding football in August to about December 1st, having an understanding, winning Scout Team Player of the Week, knowing how to read defenses now. But now I just got to piece together our offense with what I've learned on defense. And I got a battle in the spring upcoming with the junior Dave Meyer, who played and was really good. So I know I had my work cut out for me. And, that January, February, the time off after the bowl game, I went home. I had my family quiz me. I had my girlfriend at the time quiz me on the offense and how to learn it. I mean, what am I seeing? just talking through things with my brother and just having him ask me a lot of questions. Went into that spring so confident. After I learned the system mentally, I had 2 months. And after 2 weeks, I was number one on the depth chart. And we started our equal. And after 2 weeks, I was number one on the depth chart. Did some amazing things, threw the ball well. I was very efficient. I pulled it down and tucked it. I didn't turn it over. And, I made less mistakes than the junior. And I proved to everybody that I could play the position. And this is another story I'd like to tell, too. It's another moment in my life where I felt like, I was challenged and I rose to the challenge, met the challenge, and won. Our strength and conditioning coach, Mike Gentry, came to me my freshman year. I said, always play around in the weight room. I'm going to keep this short. Always play around, not taking it serious. I don't really like what we're doing now, football anyway. He came to me and he said, Michael, I'm not sure if you can run the option the right way. Because, he's observed me every day. I'm, highly recruited. And, I'm supposed to be the guy, but I'm not acting as if I'm a young leader, playing around, got everybody laughing, joking. That's not even me. Yeah, he came to me, he told me that, and I was like, what was that supposed to mean? I took that as not insulting. I was like, I feel like in a way I got to prove him wrong. And after I won the job in the spring, like I matured so much just in that period of time from August to December. I started taking strength and conditioning serious. Off-season workouts, winter workouts, took it extremely serious. I didn't play in the weight room. It was about winning that starting job. It was about business. And Trent, at the middle of the spring, might have been even before I got the job or awarded the job, Mike Gentry, one of my favorite and dear friends to this day, came to me and said, Mike, I'm so proud of you. And in that moment, I'm talking like I melted. I was like, man, Coach Gentry like me now. I'm doing my thing on the field. I understand what this whole college football thing is all about. And now I just got to do it in the real-time action. Because everything was against us. So I'm like, so that's the spring. And then the fall was upcoming. So I'm like, all right, here's the challenge. I got it here. I got it internally in the building. Now let's go make it happen.
And I want to get to that. I want to talk as much as you want about that redshirt freshman year. It's pretty historic and amazing things happen. But I want to reset here for a sec because you said so many great things in the midst of your storytelling about your maturity. Yeah. And for all you young quarterbacks that are listening, you're listening. Michael Vick, one of the greatest athletes that's ever played the position of quarterback, and very rarely did he talk about being an athlete. He talked about being an academic. He talked about being a student of the game. He talked about seeing the pictures in his head and taking them from film onto the field and integrating what he was learning into his own playbook and attacking the weight room and the seriousness that went in his preparation. And I think it's an important thing, Michael, because as I've traveled around the country for the last 15 years now, looking at high school quarterbacks, so many of them think they can just be an athlete. They can out-athlete you. And here's one of the greatest athletes ever played the position, and you didn't mention becoming a better athlete. Go run around more in practice. Right. Go tuck it more in practice. Go run the option better in practice. You talked about learning 1 high, 2 high, middle field safe and middle field conversions, out cuts, read them outside in, inside out, protections, yada, yada, yada. So young quarterbacks, please understand this is an academic game. No matter how great of an athlete you are, you have to get the academic part down first. And Michael just told a beautiful example of that.
Yeah, Trent, you're right. And I don't have to elaborate, but the mental part of the game is most important. I knew what I could do. I learned that I couldn't just do what I wanted to do when I got to college. And I was like, I'm probably more talented than everybody out here. So when the ball is snapped, I'm going to just take off and run. You know what I did? Ran right into the back of an offensive lineman. I was like, oh, this ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. I need a new strategy.
All right, let's get into that first year starting. Take me however you want. Are there any memorable moments? I'll kind of tell everybody. You went 11-0. You get to the national championship game. You end up being invited to the Heisman that year. But as you went down that road, any stories that stick out to you and experiences people could learn from?
Yeah, well, I remember running onto the field, my first play ever as a Virginia Tech Hokie and playing against James Madison. And As I was running out onto the field, it still gives me chills to this day. I'll never forget, I looked up into the sky and I said, God, this is it. This journey that I'm about to embark on is going to be filled with success, hopefully. And if it all goes well, I accomplish that dream of playing in the pros, but this is it. I'm headed to the huddle. And I got to the huddle, and the first play was a pass play. And I don't know why Coach called it pass play first play, because he called like it was an all-go concept. I'm like, I'm not throwing a go route the first play of the game. I checked it down to the back, and I threw it in the flat, and threw it in the dirt, and he was wide open. I'm like, all right, that's a good start. Like, that's an amazing start. So, like, okay, all right, play two. Coach calls a draw. I'm going to calm you down. Calls a draw, taking 65 yards to the house.
Let's go.
I'm like, that was pretty easy, but I still don't trust this whole thing. I got to continue to do it. Our next drive, we drive down the field. I score again on like an option to the left. We called it Jaguar. I ran the speed option and I cut it up and I scored it. Then soon possession, get the ball back and I hit Ricky Hall on like a 60-yard touchdown. And I'm like, man, this is going great. Going into half, we lead a 2-minute drive, boom, 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 down in the red zone. I run another one in, but when I go in, I'm feeling myself a little bit. I go over the top, and I'm playing with a lot of confidence. I come down and I sprain my ankle. Now I'm out.
Ooh.
It's over. It ended. So it was a great run, great first half. And then I'm out for the second half, and I can't play the next week. I'm nursing myself to get back. And then that third game was just a primetime Thursday night game with Clemson. They ranked 11 in the country, ranked like 10. Bad ankle. And I found a way to win the game, I say that. It wasn't pretty. I threw 3 picks in that game. And the most amazing part about the game, and this one I knew I was ready for the run, up and down game, I made some good plays, threw 3 picks, just trying some stuff. But I knew why I threw them. And that was the coolest part about throwing those 3 picks. I understood why. And so it's 3rd and 10. It's about 4 minutes left. We up 14-11, but they got some momentum. And they on like this charge. You can feel like the energy, just shifting in Clemson's favor. So 3rd and 10. Coach call, I can't remember the play. I think he might have called, you know what? I think he might have called an all-go concept. All-go, man, how vanilla it was. We were still like in, and we spreaded it out, but we were still in like pro personnel.
Yeah.
Two backs, tight end, 2 receivers. Yeah. Like 3rd and 10, like what are we doing? We should at least be in Queens, 3 receivers, maybe 2 backs, 3 receivers, right?
Yep.
And, this is what he believed in. Concept, honestly, I end up versus single high, I ended up, the tight end had a broken arrow versus 2 high, but versus single high, he kind of broke it off, went 10 and broke it off. And, I visualized what was going on. I, understood what the defense was doing, but I found him in like a crease, man. And I hit him in stride, and he like split the defenders. He split the Mike and the strong side linebacker, and wasn't supposed to make that throw at all. It was outside of what the read, tells me where to go. And I make this incredible throw against a single high with a Mike linebacker and the backer, in between those guys. And I'll never forget it. So it kind of sealed the game. We ran the clock out from there. And we won the game. And my coach told me the next day, he said, a quarterback who threw 3 picks that was rattled, uncomfortable, or did not want to finish that game and discouraged, wouldn't have been able to make that throw. He said, I'm so proud of you, son, because, in facing adversity, you hung in there, and it was beautiful. Like, I was so proud of that play. And from there, we just steamrolled everybody. And, man, when I say steamrolled them, I just got confidence each and every week. Guys was blocking, tackling, catching. We played good on both sides of the ball, all 3 phases. And we look up and we playing Boston College for a chance to go to the national championship. And fond memories I'd never forget, Trent. I'll tell you that.
That's awesome. Now, tell me this. I never got to play a national championship. And for context, because Florida State's kind of fallen off the map, but when you played them in the Natty, that's when Florida State every year was top 3. I think Bobby Bowden had some incredible streak of being in the top 3 for most consecutive years. All of us as kids grew up wanting to go to Florida State. Peter Tom Willis, Brad Johnson, Casey Weldon, Charlie Ward. Like they just had dude at quarterback year after year after year. So I'm sure you were the same way. You mentioned Danny Cannell. You mentioned some of the Florida State quarterbacks you looked up to. So going to the national championship game, did you have nerves, or were you just so supremely confident because you had been on fire for the whole year?
Yeah, I was super confident, but I knew we was playing against Florida State. And it was some level of intimidation because, they just had so many guys who you just knew was going to play on the next level. And they was faster than everybody else, and they was more talented and gifted. And they did a lot of chirping, up to the week prior. And Chris Winkie was an older quarterback. And I'm like, he's mature beyond his years. And, I'm up against this guy. So I got caught up in the, just the bright lights of everything. And, all the way up until I stepped on the field, I wasn't nervous. When kickoff started, I couldn't hear anything. It was so electric. I remember having a headache the first drive, blocking out signals. And I'm like, it takes a while to get over that you're playing in a national championship, and it's not a normal game. It's not a regular season game. You got their crowd, your crowd, and it's just nonstop action, man. And we got down early, and we fought our way back into it. We just wasn't mature enough to pull it out. We had some guys that was going to the pros in the next couple years, so they was playing a little conservative and trying not to hurt their chances. So, understood. I totally understood the circumstances later, but in the moment, I felt like we could have beat Florida State that day.
I'll never forget where I was is when I got introduced to you. I was with John Lynch. We were teammates together, and we're at his house, and we were watching the game. And I hadn't seen you play that. I didn't watch a lot of college football that year, so I didn't really know much about you. And we watched that game, and, big party, a lot of people, our wives, kids run around. And I remember John and I just sitting down in awe watching you play in that game, saying, "Is this where the NFL's going?" And John's like, "I don't want to tackle. I don't want to tackle him." And I'm like, "Well, I can't do that." So I was, I think a lot of people, that was the game. A lot of people had seen you play that year. But I think that was the game that put you on everybody's radars. This kid's coming to the NFL, and the NFL is about to change. Let's go to our second break. When we get back, we'll talk to Michael about his pre-draft process and his NFL career and what he's doing now to influence the next generation of quarterbacks. We'll be right back. Beyond the X's and O's is brought to you by State Farm. Just like State Farm offers surprisingly great rates for your car insurance, I want to share with you a surprisingly great moment from my career. It actually goes back to training camp of 2000, my first year at the Baltimore Ravens, my only year at the Baltimore Ravens. Brandon Stokely was a young receiver trying to make the team. He was going to get cut. Brandon and I had developed a really nice rapport in training camp, as had the other quarterbacks. I went into the front office and the coaching staff and really fought hard to keep him. And I developed a respect from the coaching staff and the front office, so they listened. I said, listen, this kid can bring us something we don't have. He's a guy that can play inside in the slot. He's a long strider. He can get open versus tight coverage. He can read zones. He's going to be a monster on third down and in the red zone. Well, sure enough, they keep him. And Brandon Stokely catches the first touchdown in Super Bowl 35 from yours truly. And that's why I love the journey of the quarterback. There's so many surprisingly great lessons to be learned from this unique position. And remember, whether you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback or an armchair QB relaxing happily at home, State Farm provides coverage that meets your needs at a price that fits your budget. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, back with Michael Vick. Please go back. YouTube has everything, I guess. Go back and watch some of Michael's college games.
Oh my God!
Your jaw will drop. You'll be amazed by what you see. And so is the NFL. So a lot of chatter around Michael. He's getting ready to come out in the NFL. Talk to me, Mike, about your pre-draft process, because right now you're covering it. I covered it. I mean, it's the biggest thing that goes on. You got, docu-series on kids getting ready for the draft. What was yours like?
Well, my process was simple. I knew I was going to San Diego, and they was like beating down the door. Mike, we want you. You come in here. I took a visit to San Diego, and everything was about San Diego until the night of the draft. About 10 o'clock, I'm sitting in my room with all my buddies and family, and I get a call from my agent, saying that you might get traded to Atlanta. And I'm like, what? I was just house hunting in San Diego last week. Like, how is this possible? Like, they said they wanted me. I'm like, all right, let me digest this. Instantly, I'm thinking, now my family can truly come see me play. Because Virginia and Georgia, you're talking an hour and a half flight and decent prices. San Diego, cross country. Like, my family's never going to get a chance to see me play. Just so through that process, I try to digest all that. And I'm thinking about that. That's like I'm having a psychological, effect. It's having a psychological effect on me because I'm like, I really want my mom to be there. She's always there. But when I found out about the trade, I was like, look, this is the best thing that could happen. We all digested it. And I'm ready for this. So leading up to that, it was about training. Training wasn't extensive back then, maybe for me as it is now, because guys, they train so hard in the off season to get ready for their pro days and get ready for the draft and everything. And, I kind of laugh because, I never forget, I had a pro day. My pro day, I didn't throw for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking, you got to rest your body, get ready for the draft. I go into my pro day, I didn't throw for 3 months, and I completed 60 out of 60 passes.
Oh, wow.
And split a guy's finger like that's something I'd never seen before. So I was just so ready to get drafted. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening to me. The whole time, I just have all these, just memories of everything I went through as a kid, everything I wanted as a professional. I'm like, this is really my time. So I'm like soaking it all in too, man. And San Diego beating down my door. And like I said, I get traded the night before. And the next day, draft day, when I walked across that stage, a whole different set of expectations arose. But I was like, thank God I'm here. Now, I wish I wouldn't have known where I was going. I wanted the element of surprise in the draft room. You don't know when you're going to get drafted. You don't know if you're going to go number one. You don't, the whole draft process. So it was kind of ruined by knowing where I was going, but so appreciated, I will say that.
Wow. I want to talk, I'm going to comment on your NFL career. Then I'm going to let you take us anywhere you want to go. And I say this to the audience all the time. If you want to know the nitty gritty and the stats and all that stuff about Michael's career, it's easy to look up. I want you to understand what it was like, Michael Vick's impact on the NFL when he came into the NFL. Right now, you're seeing a lot of what you're seeing with a lot of these quarterbacks that don't have to be 6'3", that can be dual threats, that got chances at smaller colleges, not smaller colleges, but didn't have to go to one of the premier logos in order to get drafted. A lot of that's going on because of Michael Vick. So when I say pioneer, Steve Young was probably the first one. Is that fair to say, Michael?
Yes, that's fair.
And then you, as kind of one of these 6-foot-ish quarterbacks that could do everything well and had massive horsepower, you really pioneered the next generation of quarterbacking. A lot of these guys watched you and now made it because they had somebody to look up to. So I want the audience to understand that. The other thing I want the audience to understand, and I'll let you comment on this as much as you want, you weren't doing it with these offenses you're seeing these guys do it with now. So we were in an era playing, ladies and gentlemen, where there wasn't a ton of zone read. There wasn't a ton of spread offense. They didn't cater the position around the athletic traits of the quarterback. So Michael did a lot of his damage within the system that was built for somebody that didn't have his athleticism. So just imagine what Michael Vick would have done if he had an offense tailor-made for him, a la Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Can you imagine what you would have done in that offense?
Oh, man.
I'm sure you watch it every week and just go, man. Oh, my gosh. I remember sitting with Steve Young at Monday night games, and he would see all this new offense come in. He'd be like, I don't understand this, Trent. Why couldn't they have done this when I played? Like,
right.
He would just get so frustrated because like I had to go do it on my quarterback draw was some wild and crazy thing back then.
Or out of a 322 scat, Y6 slop. You got to find a crease.
Yep.
You got to read it and then find the crease. Just a different era.
Yep.
Just got to credit Dan Reeves for drafting me and saying pretty much, I'm going to use your skill set. So back then, I might have had maybe one draw in the game plan. I might have had like 2 quarterback sweeps in the game plan. And then as we evolved, he started putting in like a quarterback draw. So we'd line up in another pro set, right? Just say we was in right formation, tight end right, 2 backs in the eye, 2 receivers. And we'll just go play action, like we call it 5-4 and 5-4 QB draw.
Yep.
And send the fullback and the halfback in to take care of the Mike and the Sam.
Yep.
And I'd come right behind them. And it was Bob Christensen, my man Bob Christensen, and then Warwick Dunn or TJ Duckett to be leading up in there. And so those was my 3 design runs that we had to pick and choose our spots out of to do it. And, that's all we had. Everything else came out of a system. And like you say, Steve mentioned, why couldn't things be the way, when I played, why they couldn't be this way, the way they're doing it now. And I say the same thing. Like if I played in the offense like what the Baltimore Ravens had built for Lamar, it would be a totally different ball game. Out of my records would be probably through the roof, but that's just generations and time and era. And you see, it's great to see the game evolve. Like it's great to see coaches pick it up and gravitate to it. And you don't have to be 6 feet or 210 pounds and elusive. I feel like anybody could do it. Just be willing to run just a little bit, because ultimately I was more so about, my style wasn't accepted. No, I won't say it wasn't accepted. It was like, it was different. So
it wasn't understood. I would say it wasn't understood.
It wasn't understood. Right. Correct. And I'm like, this is all I know. This is my way of doing it. This is how I move the chains. And I always start just moving the chains, pulling it down and running, showed a little toughness to my teammates. Like I'm willing to go the extra mile, and I hope you look at me and kind of feed off, what I'm doing, and I'm trying to lead by example. So it encouraged me to continue to play that way, not thinking of it as a way to change the game or making the game look different. It was just productive. And I think coaches over time was like, look, man, we just want productivity however it comes. It don't matter what you look like, black, white, and different. No matter how big you are, big, tall, small, come on. Just be a difference maker. And that's what's so cool about it, man. Now you look in the league, across the league, you got Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert poured it down a couple of times the other night. I'm like, data boy, let's go. Move the chains. And, Kyler and, obviously Cam coming back, Russell Wilson still, Aaron Rodgers been doing it for years. Move the chains, Big Ben. Like we in the league of our own when it comes to being mobile quarterbacks. And obviously Lamar, we just we trended. The quarterback position is trending in the right direction. But then I say this. Then I love seeing Mac Jones. I'm a quarterback through and through, just like you. We love the quarterback position and we marvel at it. But man, I would have done anything to be able to sit back like Peyton all day, or throw it like Drew, or throw it like Aaron, or John. Man, so the quarterback is so unique, so cool. So however you want to do it, just move the chains. The quickest the quickest way to not be a quarterback is to not be productive. And everything that's been created, from a dual threat perspective, pocket passing perspective, has just been through coaches and players to make the game better.
Mm. You handled that great. I'm bitter that you didn't get to play in this stuff because you would have thrown. I'm watching these guys. These guys are trending to be Hall of Famers. So Russell's going to be a Hall of Famer. Yes. Mahomes most likely end up being a Hall of Famer if he puts 3 to 4 more years at this. Yep. Lamar's trending that way. You could see Josh Allen, Herbert, these guys having 10, 12-year dual threat careers, even though they're 6'4", 6'5". These guys are putting up numbers that your jaw drops. You would have been the first one to do it all. Like, people don't understand. And that's why I want every young person to go back. If you don't understand how good Michael Vick was, go watch some YouTube stuff, go research him, because he was all this stuff before it's this stuff. I don't know how else to say it. I say this about Mahomes. Everybody drops their jaw at Mahomes. I go, bro, I watched this live and in person with Brett Favre from 93 to 94 to 99. I got to see it twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. Everything Mahomes is doing, Brett did first. Everything Lamar's doing, Michael did first. Everything Kyler Murray's doing, Michael did first. So I'm just bragging on you because you're too humble to do it. But I sure wish I would have had the chance to watch you play in some of these offenses.
Let me send a special shout out and rest in peace to a great friend of mine, Greg Knapp.
Yes,
Greg Knapp. Napa in 2006 came to me. He used to call me Super. Say, Super, I'm looking to do something different. I'm going to go spend some time with some colleges. And Greg came back with that zone read.
Yep.
And we started running that zone read. We gave the Bucks fits that year.
Yep.
I'm talking about, I think John was on that team. I'm not sure if he had moved on.
06, I don't remember if he was still in Tampa or if he had gone to Denver.
I don't think he was still Tampa. Yeah, I think he had went to Denver. But yeah, I mean, we caught a lot of teams off guard with it. Ran for 1,000 yards that year. And Greg Knapp introduced the zone read to the National Football League, and I think he should get a lot of credit for that.
I agree, and he did it as a pioneer because it wasn't cool. I remember vividly us mocking it. You know what I mean? Like us being the NFL group going, oh, that will never work. Oh, that's not sustainable.
Right.
I remember when Colin Kaepernick started lighting it up with the 49ers, and I was at ESPN, and all the old curmudgeons would say, oh, that's not going to work, and Parcells, this is going to get blown up, and Belichick's going to kill this. And I'm like, you wait and see. I'm like, you guys, you know, curmudgeons, say anything you want. This is here to stay, and it's only going to get better.
Only going to get better.
It's only going to get better. So that's not going away. Just because the bodies are bigger and faster and all that stuff, the quarterback-driven run game is the single greatest addition to football in the last 30 years because it's opened up everything else, and it's made defenses have to play. It's made them have to play 11 on 11 when forever they played 11 on 10.
Absolutely. You got to cover all grounds.
Yep. All right, let's finish up your NFL career because I really want to get into what you're doing now. It's so awesome. But if you had, and this is a brutal question, but take your entire NFL career, take this anywhere you want. Is there one lesson you learned more than anything else? Is there one piece of advice you want to share with people? Is there one thing? What's the one thing that means more than any other thing that came out of your NFL career?
The hard work pays off. The years I trained extremely hard was the years I had my best seasons. 2004, 2006, 2010, 2013. I had a battle, but I got with Nick Foles and I ended up injuring my. But those are the off seasons where I could vividly remember working harder than I ever worked before. 2011, we hit the lockout. Everything was there was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't know when we was coming back. I sat around, played golf all summer. I shortchanged myself. I came in, got injured. The first 5 games of the season, I got hurt in every single game. And I just started to realize there was no substitute for hard work. And if I had the chance to go back and do it all over again, you know, from January up until the time we started OTAs, I'd have been training with a trainer and eating right and had a nutritionist and did things different. I would have at least played another 2 to 3 years just because I kept my body in tip-top shape and because my mind was into the game more so than your body. Because, Trent, you know this, and I know you probably explained it to quarterbacks all across the country. When mentally you are capable, the physical will take care of itself. And once you learn the game of football and you put your mind into what this offense can become, then all you got to do is just go out and make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's really not a physical game. You know, it becomes physical when you get hit. It becomes physical when you break containment. It becomes physical when you try to run a guy over. But for the most part, man, it's delicate to the mind, man. You just got to be all in mentally and prepare in the off season, prepare during the week, go hard, put that time and work in because it makes the game so much easier for you.
Amen. Great advice. My wife still makes fun of me that I would have had a much better career if I would have taken the off season more serious. So you're so right
But
on
that
that.
was a different era. That was a different era for us, Trent.
It was. Tell me this. This is a fun one, but Steve Young was on the show, and we asked him this question, and he had a great answer. Where have all the lefty QBs gone?
Oh my God,
there's none.
Man,
like there's
none. So every time I see Thor, every time I see Tua throw the football, I'm like, it just looked different to me. I'm just like, hold on, man. This is just, where are all the lefties, man? It's usually at least two in the league every year. Two guys.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I just know Tua, and I've seen the left-handed quarterback at UVA.
Yes, I like him a lot.
I like him.
He just got hurt, but I like Brennan Armstrong. That kid is a baller.
But when he threw it, I'm like, no disrespect, but so they probably thought the same thing about me.
Yeah.
And when I looked at Steve, he was a thing of beauty. So it looked different. But yeah, man, just not too many of us left.
You and Steve need to start a website, lefties show up and play QB or something.
Only, yeah.
Brand it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get discouraged early.
All right, let's finish with this. You've been so awesome and so gracious with your time, but you're doing something really cool. You've developed a dual threat QB system to help young QBs. Instead of me talking about it, it's not mine. You talk about it. Tell me why you did it, the impact it's having, and just the passion behind it.
Yeah, well, I got an opportunity, through Pro Class, to explain some of the things that I did in my career that made me successful, whether it was in training or whether it was the dual threat system. And, obviously they wanted to know what it meant and how do you execute it. And, we broke it down in steps. What am I looking for? When off the zone read, what am I looking for off the fake? The shoulders of the defensive end. Is he square? Is he coming down? Is he coming down the line of scrimmage? Simple things to look for, and run a lot of camps. And kids always ask, Mike, how did you run a fast 40? How did you train? And, so we want to add that element to it. But most importantly, I tell guys, if you want to become a dual threat, you just got to have heart, and you got to work at it in terms of, the throwing ability, and you got to strengthen your legs to make sure that you have durability. Simple steps. Obviously want to continue to take it a step further in terms of teaching and training, and, just wanted to be something where kids can go to build 40 times and, get faster. It's not just strictly solely for the quarterback because, it's a very unique position and everybody can't play quarterback. So, in terms of building speed, you got linebackers, defensive backs, you got defensive ends, you got, running backs, receivers, everybody want to be faster. So a lot of training tips on how to build your speed and, if you're a quarterback, how to become that ultimate dual threat.
Oh, that's incredible. Lastly, there's got to be, anytime you achieve the level of success that you have, there's got to be a lot of people along the way that helped you. Immediate family, tribe members, as I call them, right? People that are in your tribe, mentors. Use your last bit of time here just to tell the audience, who were those people in your life?
Yeah, well, it's a couple people. I started with my high school coach. First, let me take a step back. I started with my mom.
Yeah, of course.
Just her work ethic and how hard, she, tried to make us happy. And, out of 4 kids, I was like, the spoiled kid out of the bunch. I don't know how. But if I didn't get my way, I would always throw a fit. So me and her feuded a lot. But she always told me she knew I would amount to something. And, I wanted to be in the FBI. So whether it was an FBI agent or whether it was a professional football player, she always had a profound effect on my life. And then my high school coach, coming in my freshman year, when I didn't have a father figure in my life, and kind of teaching me what it was like to grow into a young man. And from a freshman to my senior year, he seen me go through heartbreaks on the field and heartbreaks off the field with girlfriends and things of that nature. And I'm thankful he was there to be able to bounce things off of and, just share my thoughts with to get, creditable feedback. And, once I got to college, it was Bradley Bussell, Ricky Bussell, and, Frank Beamer, who the door was always open. Coach Ben was like a dad. I could always go to him and coach him. This is going on and this is going on. And he gave me just proper advice. And, Dan Reeves was amazing in my life. Jim Moore was amazing in my life. Obviously, Andy Reid. And then I'll take this time out to give credit to Tony Dungy, Roger Goodell, people I still stay in contact with to this day. And I always feel like I owe it to them, man, in a lot of ways because, one, they always watching, always inquiring about, how I'm doing and how my family's doing. And they really, those people I just named, they really care about me genuinely. And they care about me as a person, not as a football player, not as a sports analyst. It's more so about Michael Vick, the person. And I appreciate that more than anything. So those people have been very instrumental in my life, Trent.
That's so cool. Well, football and those people gave you a lot, but you've given the game of football a lot, Michael. So, man, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks so much for joining us. And we got to do this again. I'm going to launch a new series. And we're going to do like a series with quarterbacks talking about best practical jokes in training camp or grossest offensive lineman story or something like that. So I'm going to hit you up for a 15-minute on some of the vignettes from your career and some of the funny things that take place. So thanks for joining us, Michael. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Trent.
Wow, what a great conversation with Michael Vick. Thank you for his time and his insight. And thank you to our great friends at State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Go to statefarm.com to get a quote today.